you know, Shaquille and I have a great relationship now.
And beautiful children.
And beautiful children. I would not change any part of my story.
The ex-wife of NBA legend Shaquille O'Neal has recently sparked a firestorm of controversy after revealing a deeply personal admission in her memoir, Undefeated, Changing the Rules and Winning on My Own Terms. And boy, did it make waves. In a shocking excerpt, Shaunie admits that, looking back, she wasn't sure if she was ever really in love with Shaq during their marriage.
I think I just figured out that, you know, everybody receives love in a different way.
Yeah.
And if you don't learn that from your partner.
This revelation, as bold as it is painful, has been met with a tidal wave of reactions. From fans to foes, everyone has an opinion. And it seems like the whole world is talking about it. But what exactly did Shaunie say? How did Shaquille O'Neal react? And why has the backlash been so intense? Let's dive deep into this scandalous story, peeling back the layers of love, betrayal, and hurt.
Where my mother was like, what goes on in our house stays in this house. So that's literally how I lived my life. Even in my book now, writing about it, I was not comfortable.
Let's set the scene. Shaunie Henderson's memoir, which was released in May 2024, chronicles her journey from being the wife of one of the NBA's most iconic players to navigating life as a single, independent woman. But it's the part about her marriage to Shaq that has the internet in an uproar. In the memoir, Shaunie casually mentions that she doesn't believe she was ever truly in love with Shaquille O'Neal, and it wasn't until she found true love with her current husband, Keon Henderson, that she realized the difference between loving someone and being in love with them.
I thought I was in love, and of course I loved him.
Sure.
Of course I loved him. It was absolutely taken out of context when you just grab that little snippet, right?
The quote that sent shockwaves through the media goes something like this: "Looking back, I don't know if I was ever really in love with the man." Now you can imagine how that landed, not just because of who she's talking about, but also because of how she phrased it. There's a rawness to the statement, and to many, it feels like a sharp jab.
Telling my story because my story involves my mom, my story involves my dad, my story involves my ex-husband, and
Shaunie clarified later that her words had been taken out of context. But let's be honest, when you say something like that about a former spouse, especially someone as high profile as Shaquille O'Neal, it's going to cause a stir. And a stir it did cause. Social media went into overdrive, with opinions flooding in from all sides. Some fans were applauding her honesty, while others were questioning her motives.
I lost that safe feeling, and that's what I needed to receive love. It was, you know, some people find love in things and providing.
So, what did Shaq think about this bombshell? Well, in true Shaq fashion, he didn't go for the drama. Instead, he took to social media with a surprisingly calm response. Shaq tweeted, "I understand. I wouldn't have been in love with me either. Wishing you all the best. All love, Shaq." It's a statement that's part self-awareness, part grace, and if we're being real, part passive-aggressive shade. By admitting that he wouldn't have been in love with himself either, Shaq basically deflects any potential tension and keeps the high ground. He's been through this before: public breakups, rumors, and media madness. But this time, he wasn't going to let Shaunie's words get under his skin.
It's not their decision to write a book, right? It was mine. So it was like I was shielding everything to protect everybody.
Now, while some may have seen this response as mature, others were quick to jump in with their own takes. The general consensus from fans was that Shaunie's admission was a little too much to handle, especially after all the years of public drama and their very public divorce. But let's be real, what did people expect? Shaunie's truth was bound to stir up trouble, but the question is, did she need to go there?
You know, he was a great provider, he was all of that, but I lost that safe feeling. And now that I have it.
Here's where things get interesting. Women everywhere seemed to immediately understand what Shaunie was saying. When she said, "I wasn't really in love with him," it struck a chord with many. Women have long known what it means to be in love versus just loving someone. To love someone means you care about them deeply, but being in love, that's a different feeling altogether, one that hits you in the heart, body, and soul. It's passionate, consuming, And it's also fleeting.
And I own my space. I own my decisions. I own the fact that I was in complete denial and soft.
And when a woman says, "I love you, but I'm not in love with you," it usually signals the beginning of the end. That's where the situation gets sticky and the true feelings start to unfold. For Shaunie, it seems that the love she had for Shaq may have been more about convenience or admiration. But the deeper romantic connection, well, that was never truly there.
It wasn't until I stepped out of that marriage that I was like, what is my purpose? What am I doing? Like, what did I do with all those years?
But it wasn't just the women who understood what Shaunie meant. Shaq's defenders came out in full force. Some people on social media were quick to say that Shaunie had been with Shaq for the fame, the lifestyle, and the benefits that came with being married to an NBA superstar. These aren't new accusations. In fact, they've been lingering for years, but this time, they had new fuel to burn.
I was protecting myself. I was protecting my kids. I had this family, right? I didn't want to be a failure. To me,
women, in particular, were sympathetic to Shaq's position. Some pointed out that Shaunie's revelation about her feelings for Shaq seemed not just disrespectful, but also somewhat opportunistic. After all, Shaunie has built much of her career on her connection to Shaquille O'Neal. Basketball Wives? That's a show created by Shaunie, riding on the back of the NBA lifestyle, and let's be honest, her marriage to one of its most famous stars.
And it wasn't until reality hit me in my face that I was like, wait a minute, I've been financially dependent on a...
So the question became, was Shaunie just bitter? Or was she telling her truth? Let's call it what it is. For all the talk about not being in love with Shaq, Shaunie has continued to ride his coattails in many ways since their split. She kept the O'Neal name, used it to build her empire, and even named her children after it. Sure, she's remarried, but her brand, her identity, has always been tied to Shaq.
I was in love with the partnership that I never got. I didn't experience partnership in a relationship until now.
And don't get it twisted, Shaunie has leveraged that name for all it's worth. Basketball Wives wouldn't have the same cachet if she wasn't married to Shaq, and Shaunie knows that. This isn't a criticism of Shaunie per se, but more a commentary on the reality of how celebrity dynamics work. When you marry someone as famous as Shaquille O'Neal, that's a ticket to a whole new world of opportunity.
And just honing in on taking some you time and realizing that you are here for a reason and you deserve love, you deserve happiness.
So, when Shaunie says she wasn't in love with him, many wonder, does she regret the marriage or regret what she built on the back of it? After the internet erupted over her initial remarks, Shaunie attempted to clarify her words. In an interview with People magazine, she explained that she didn't mean to throw Shaq under the bus, but rather to express her personal journey of self-discovery.
Protected my space. Yeah. I shared what I wanted to share specifically. I grew up in a house.
She went on to state, when you love somebody, you love them. But to be in love with somebody is a different feeling, and I didn't realize that until I found the love of my life right now. While this may have been Shaunie's way of explaining her feelings, it still didn't sit well with many. Some took her words as a direct hit to Shaq, questioning why she needed to air this out in her memoir in the first place. If she's moved on, why dwell on the past? Why bring up her feelings about Shaq now? These were questions fans, critics, and even some of her closest supporters were asking.
Yeah, I wanted to be able to leave a legacy. And again, in my book, I talk about that because I want to leave a legacy for my children.
Now let's think about the impact of this revelation on Shaq and Shaunie's children. No matter how much the couple has gone through, at the end of the day, they share kids together. Shaquille O'Neal's legacy is now intertwined with Shaunie's, and their children will have to hear their mother publicly state that she wasn't in love with their father. The emotional toll this could have on the kids is something that can't be ignored. This adds another layer of complexity to an already complicated situation. The public airing of personal grievances between parents could affect how their children see both of them, and that's something no parent wants. So, where does this leave Shaunie and Shaq? Will their friendship survive this latest chapter? Will Shaunie continue to open up about her marriage to Shaq in her memoir? Or will this blowback cause her to rethink her approach? And what about Shaquille O'Neal? Will he continue to respond with grace? Or will this spiral into a deeper feud?
Not one part of my story, no matter how depressed, how sad, how much of at the bottom I felt, I would not change.
One thing is certain, this is far from over. The public drama surrounding Shaunie Henderson's revelation is just the beginning. With the internet already divided and emotions running high, only time will tell how this will play out. Will the truth behind their marriage finally come to light? Or will it remain a complicated, unanswered question for years to come?
I know this book is a memoir, but it's honestly a manual, Tamron.
I see it. Yeah.
It is me encouraging. It is me.
And now, we want to hear from you. Do you think Shaunie should have kept her feelings about Shaq private? Or was she right to tell her truth? Was her statement about not being in love with him fair? Or does it seem disrespectful given the years they spent together? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because trust us, this debate is just getting started. And if you want to keep up with all the latest celebrity gossip and NBA drama, make sure to subscribe to Celeb Titbits and ring the bell for the hottest updates on Shaunie, Shaq, and the world of Hollywood.